when longevity tends to have a lot of problem is when we're not living in alignment with who we are. When we live in alignment with who we are going to live a very long life. When we don't, and we're trying to do other people's purpose, please people, carry all of these things, we're not going to have longevity because our energy just becomes so depleted that even to look after our physical well-being, look after our wealth, look after our relationship, a lot of the time people just become so low in that vibration that people unfortunately just go, at 70, it's time for me to go instead of 90.
Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany, the podcast where science meets wisdom. I'm Brittany Ford, holistic nutritionist, biohacker, and mom. And for years, I struggled with gut issues, hormonal imbalances, and the exhaustion of motherhood while running a business. Biohacking and functional medicine became my way back to clarity, vitality, and trust in my body. And that's why I'm here. Not just to share information, but to share the practices and perspectives that truly shifted my health and my life. Each week, I bring you science-backed tools, honest conversations, and rituals I live myself so you can return to your own body's wisdom and create longevity on your own terms. Because your body already knows this is just the space to remember. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am thrilled that you are listening. I'm Brittany, and for everybody who is new around here, I am a longevity medicine fellow. I'm a holistic nutritionist, podcaster, content creator, mom. What else? Founder, entrepreneur, traveler, nomad, on and on and on and on it goes. This podcast was born out of the curiosity to learn more about health and wellness, and it's really transformed over the years. We are over 400 podcast episodes now, and I'm excited for where it's going, and it's going to be changing a lot this year. Today's episode, my goodness, is with, I'm going to try to say her name, Queen Oluwatobiloba. She goes by Toby. And she is a queen, my goodness. Her energy in this episode is undeniable and unbelievable. She offers private, bespoke advisory experience and consultations for women. And she goes beyond success and beyond wealth. And she really supports high-achieving women and clients with refined, high-touch guidance around alignment, well-being, leadership, evolution, and legacy. In this episode, guys, this is one of the juiciest episodes I've done this year so far. We talk about mom guilt and how that sits in the womb and what that does to you over time and how to release that, which is, even that is powerful enough on its own, let alone the other things we talk about. We talk about agency and freedom and connecting with your nature, as she says. So she has like different archetypes that she gives women. Some women are like volcanoes, some are like rivers or mountains or water, different things that move. And we talk about what that means. And once you know your nature, what does that mean for your life? So we discuss a lot about that. We talk about alignment. And then we get into my favorite conversation right now, alignment and longevity, and how living in misalignment can really screw up your health and mess with your longevity and your health long term. So we talk about that. We talk about how uncomfortable stepping into alignment can be, how uncomfortable it is to make these big life decisions. Yet on the other side of it, it is beautiful and gratifying and peaceful, which I love. So yeah, this episode was really cool and beautiful. We got cut off short at the end because I lost Wi-Fi because I'm in Nicaragua and that happens. But I really hope that you stay tuned to the whole episode. She shared so much magic, like honestly. It's one of my favorite episodes I've done in quite a while. Thank you for listening to this episode. I am doing my Costa Rica retreat in, oh my gosh, less than 2 months. Holy smokes. There are 2 spots available left. If you want to join, you can still join. It is from March 2nd to 7th, and it's all about women's health and longevity, living in alignment, intuition, doing the deeper work. We are doing some really cool things too, like massages, IV drips. There's like this incredible spa. We are doing like workshops. We're doing all sorts of things. So there's lots of free time, lots of pool time, really baked into it so that like you can definitely sit and relax and get a lot out of it as well. So those 2 spots are going to fill up really soon. I would love for you to be one of them. If you know you're going to be there, I feel like there's a few of you who've really felt the call, and this is your time to shine. So enjoy this podcast episode. I will catch you soon for another one. Okay, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we are getting into women's wellness, holistic health. And we were just talking about actually traveling South Africa. I'm currently in Nicaragua. And Toby, or if I'm going to try to pronounce your full name, Oluwatobiloba. Is that correct? Ish?
Oluwatobiloba. Very close, yes. We did great.
Yes, it sounds way cooler from you and way nicer coming from you. But you are currently in London in the UK. And so
Yes.
I'd love to kind of like kick this off with something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is how do you think the place that we live actually impacts our health, especially for women in your own experience?
The place that we live actually is almost like a mirror of where we are at a particular stage of our life. So for men, a lot of the time, there's a lot of stability in where they are because they're not as moving as women. Women, we move with nature, with the moon, with the water, with the tide. So for example, when we're younger, we might want to be in the city. We might want to be where there's a lot of partying, where there's a lot of, depending on who you are, not everybody parties, but you might want to be close to the things that you like, maybe your yoga studios, your friends. But maybe then you get a bit older and you have children and you want to be more in the suburb because it's reflecting. It's an external mirror of your internal state. And it doesn't mean that all the women are not in the city, but the place we are is really a reflection of where we are in our life. For example, a lot of business women might stay more in the city all throughout their life because of that energy. We need them to go get, to go do things, to go be. So the city also mirrors back that energy of high energy, of doing, of getting. Again, not all women are business women. Some women are more what I would call like entrepreneurs. Some women are a bit more gentle. And it's not. I always say to women, it's just who you are. You don't have to compare yourself to other people. You are who you are, and your external environment will mirror who you are at what stage you are in your life. So for example, if you love to be in London now and in a year's time you want to go live in Canada, there's a part of you that is calling for that external environment for you to go there. That is the way it is.
Mm. What about when women might feel stuck? Like I'm living in this place and it no longer reflects my values, but I have a job here, but I really feel called somewhere else. Like, how do you make such a big life decision like that when it can just feel so overwhelming?
Well, again, it's to do with courage. A lot of women have lost the connection to their womb power. Your womb power allows you to make courageous decisions, even though it feels uncomfortable. It's not going to feel great. You don't want to pack up and leave everything, maybe even your job or your partner. But it comes at a point in a woman's life where some women, they have to make radical shifts and changes. When you feel stuck, a lot of women are like water. If water is stuck, there's no life. There's nothing happening there. Water needs to keep moving for it to be in its location all the time. So for a woman that feels stuck, is that courage to connect to your womb power, not the heart. Sometimes the heart might go, this is where you want to be. You love this place. Sometimes love can keep us stuck. But when we go into our power center and allow ourselves to feel the discomfort, not bypass the discomfort, because sometimes we feel like we have to be comfortable and everything has to be good. And I say to women sometimes, alignment doesn't feel like alignment. Sometimes it feels like uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels like resistance. But when we move with that energy, it will take us to where we're going and we can arrive there from a place of courage, confidence, rather than feeling like we need to be somewhere that we're stuck and we don't want to be. And it can happen to women for many years, just staying not just in a place, but even in a relationship with friends, with partners. even with some family members, because we have boundaries. You can say, I love you, but we're not going to be in this relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I like as you're speaking, I can picture some of my friends actually coming to mind. I have one friend who's been in Vancouver City for like, oh my gosh, maybe 8 years or something like that in the same job. And I just can't relate to her because when I feel this calling to be somewhere, it almost like I have to act on it. Do you know what I mean? Like it just nags me. It's like, okay, you got to do this thing. It's like time for a new job or start a business or move or travel. And but you can't make that decision for other people. Like you can only encourage, right? So it's like one of those things.
Yeah, and even encouragement sometimes might not be the best thing for people because they have to come to their own decision. Sometimes from a place of love and connection, we want to encourage people, but then somewhere in their being, they might go back to you were the one that encouraged me to make the decision. So I'm very careful about guiding, encouraging. If you're not working with me as a client of my friends, I don't encourage you. You make that decision yourself. Because when you trust your own decisions and you're grounded in your own decision, you're able to see all the different perspectives. And like you're saying of your friends, some women are mountains. So I use nature as a way to refer to women. Some women in my life are mountains. They've been in the same place, they've been in the same relationship, they've been in the same job. That's who they are. I've been to over 50 countries. I learn from different teachers. I am somebody that likes to move. I'm like the air sometimes, I'm like water. And sometimes I can be the mountain. Some people are just one particular aspect of nature. And people that are mountains, I mean, you can't get a mountain to move. This is where they are. But also, they're like the friends that you can always go back to and they will always be there. The women that move, they're the ones that you can always go to and they've got very quick solutions for you, quick advice for you. Like, this is what you need to do. So we're all very different. Once you know sometimes people call it your archetype. I just call it nature. Once you know your nature, you can allow yourself to be and also allow other people to be. It's only when a woman, and I say a lot of women, that are trying to live in another nature that is not their nature because of conditioning and programming. So women that, for example, are like the river or the air, they've become like the mountain because they're supposed to get married, have a job, and stay somewhere. Then they have addiction, drinking, all of these things because they're not moving, and so they're stuck in a place. It doesn't mean you have to be moving all the time. It's just when you sense, and again, I differentiate between sensing and feeling. Sometimes our feelings are actually not in alignment with who we are. It's our sensing that takes all the information, our feeling, our intelligence, our knowing, our wisdom to go, actually, is this aligned with me? I feel called to go here, but actually, what is the power decision I'm making? Do I need to be here right now?
Wow. So how do you know if you're making the right decision then? Based off of sensing versus feeling? Like how do you navigate that?
Well, part of what I do is, first of all, if you've been conditioned and programmed a lot to be a particular way, which a lot of us have been, and I've done a lot of the conditioning and program, and I still do it because, again, we have social media, we have our friends group, we have a family, so we can easily pick up these things. But part of the work I do on a very regular basis is checking back with the essence of who I am and knowing who I am. And by doing that, you're able to know what is sensing because again, I always say sensing might feel uncomfortable. You know, there's women that think, oh, it has to feel love and light, gentle. Sometimes it feels really uncomfortable. And that's what you're supposed to be going or that's what you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes it feels great and it's very embodied and that's where you're supposed to be going. But it's really understanding your own nature. Once you understand your own nature, this is the first part I get involved with women. What is your nature? Once you understand your nature, it's very easy for you to sense. The way the mountain will sense is different from a river, from a fire. The way you will sense, you will understand. And the more you live in alignment with your nature, the easier it is for you to sense when it is a temptation, it is a distraction, it is your heart telling you to go back to a relationship that clearly is not for you and you think is the thing that you're supposed to be doing. So very quickly you begin to differentiate what is sensing, what is just a feeling that feels good. Because we women, we love to feel good, but sometimes We don't need to feel good. We just have to choose the right thing that is aligned with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love for you to expand on the different natures. Like maybe if you can just kind of describe the different ones. And then like how somebody listening to the show would potentially know, oh, I'm a mountain or I'm a river. Like how can we kind of figure that out?
Well, it's just going to be a little example because really, if you want to really understand again, because of the conditioning and programming, I would recommend working with somebody, being guided by a coach, a guide, whatever you resonate, whatever language that you resonate with. This is something that I do, so you can come to me. But if you want to know, you begin to go back to moments in your life when you were true to yourself. And those moments might not look pretty. It might be when you actually spoke up for yourself and it was messy because you had been keeping quiet and you'd been kind and you've been helping everyone and you've been the loving daughter or the loving friend. And maybe one day you exploded. Definitely, you are fire, you're a volcano somewhere. And when you know your nature, instead of allowing that to come out in ways that is not your nature, then you can take that into your business. If you're a volcano that wants to explode, imagine taking that energy into your business when you know that you're going to be different from somebody that is like the river or the mountain. You're going to be explosive in your business. So when you know your nature, you can begin. Part of what I do is guiding you to work with your nature for your higher self, whether it's for your relationship. A woman that it's a volcano, for example, she's not going to be having a conversation with her partner that is going to sound like, oh, this is what you do. She's going to be very firm in her boundaries, talking about what she really wants and what doesn't align with her. A woman that is a water, she's going to be very calm. But again, sometimes women misinterpret water as just being very passive, very gentle. Sometimes water would rush things out of her way. Yeah. She's going to carry things out of her way. So a woman that is water can be very calm. If she thinks that she's the earth, one day she's just going to erupt again. Sometimes she might actually become very, very stuck. This is the thing with women with water. They tend to get stuck in a decision, stuck in a relationship, stuck in what they're supposed to be doing rather than who they are. Yeah. Like, I'm supposed to be with this person. I'm supposed to have this friendship. But sometimes women that water, they renew very quickly because water is always moving. So they might move through relationships very quickly, whether friendships or partnership. And again, it's not this law where people have to be with one partner. Some people will have one partner for the rest of their life. Those are like mountains. You will know yourself. But again, it's the trickster. So I would not advise anyone to listen to what I'm saying and go only if they understand this ways of being very deeply and go, I am a river. If you really want to serve your highest purpose, go align with somebody that works in a language that you understand and then really understand if their conditioning is making you behave like a river when actually you're bad at volcano that can literally take over the world, you know?
This episode is brought to you by Optimize Her, my women's biohacking retreat in Costa Rica, happening March 2nd to 7th, 2026. I am so excited, guys. This isn't just another yoga retreat. It's a 5-night, 6-day, science-backed health optimization woven into feminine restoration, designed specifically for women's bodies. We'll dive into functional medicine and longevity tools, experience healing sessions like sound baths and cacao ceremonies, and recalibrate with daily movement, spa rituals, and farm-to-table meals that support hormones, gut health, and vitality. It's not about fixing. It's about clearing the noise so you can actually tune into your body again. If you're ready for deep restoration and transformation, you can explore all the details in the show notes, and I would absolutely love to see you in Costa Rica. Yeah, I love that. And honestly, like as you're describing them, I relate to all of them. So I think I would have to
Yes.
like dig deeper and be like, okay, this is when I've been a fire and this is how it made me feel. Or I also wonder as well is like, are these different archetypes reflective of different parts of our lives? Like if you're in the same relationship, but you move around a lot, like being in the same relationship makes you a mountain, but moving around a lot might make you more like a river. So how do you kind of if you have these different components of your life, like how do you balance them out if one represents something else? Like, do you know what I mean?
I think I do. Some women, the last part I didn't say to that, some women can go through different nature. So they can be a mountain. These are women that are leaders. These are women that are healers in their community. These are women that are priestess, that are priests. These are women that are bosses, business women. They can shift from one nature to another nature. But the truth is, nature doesn't change. A tree will not become a mountain. The river is not going to become the mountain. So there's some women that their nature is just their nature. Whether they're in a relationship, whether they move, whether anything, they will always be the same because a river will always be the same. But the women that sometimes in ancestral tradition, and now that a lot of science is talking about, although they're putting a different language on it in quantum physics and all of that, which is great that they're talking about it. Some women are Mother Nature. So they will be the volcano if they need to be. There will be the earth if they need to be. There will be the river if they need to be. There will be the mountain if they need. There will be the sky, whatever they need to be. These women, as I say, they're leaders. So whatever they need to do for, not just for themselves, that's why they can quickly become a different nature because they have a lot of responsibility, a lot of things, a lot of stewardship that they're looking after. So they can shift nature. But really, a lot of women are just their nature because nature, a tree doesn't become a mountain.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Do you think motherhood changes this, or do you think motherhood brings out your nature so very clearly to you?
Motherhood brings out your nature so very clearly to you, especially when you're in a supportive environment. So when a lot of women go through postpartum, all of this depression, all of these different things that happen, is because the motherhood is bringing out their nature and they're not in an environment that's really supporting their nature to come out. So they might be diagnosed of different things, but actually it's just their nature coming out. Maybe the body's going, I can finally rest. I've been tired for so long trying to be an overachiever, but that's actually not who I am. So motherhood just opens that nature, our naturalness to come out. And in a supportive environment, women quickly step back into their authentic nature, not what the nature they think they have to be in and around other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Like when I became a mom, things shifted so quickly. Like my son is 18 months old, and it's like I just became, I don't want to say a different person overnight, but I don't know. I don't know if I've ever grown so quickly in such a short amount of time, like mentally and my soul and spiritually, like just being completely stretched. Um, and it's made me a better person. And I just wonder, yeah, I mean, I just look back and I think of all the hard moments, and I just like, honestly, I just have like so much grace for myself looking back. You know what I mean? I don't even know why I'm talking about this right now, but I'm just thinking back on like the last 18 months and like the hard moments when maybe I felt supported or maybe I felt unsupported, but I was still able to, I don't know, show up for myself and show up for my kid as the best I can, which so many women do, right? Day in and day out. It's like 24/7. They're just running their families and supporting their families. And a lot of the time, um, their health can be the sacrifice because of that.
Yes, yes. And motherhood is it's an initiation. You are forced to be initiated into not just looking after yourself, but this life that is not going anywhere. It's not an handbag you can put down. It's going to be there all the time. And this initiation, other than your nature, awakens part of you that you may not even know were there. And it's one of the biggest initiation for women. And again, we live, it's coming back into balance, but we live in a very patriarchal system, a very masculine world where a lot of things are designed with men in mind. And when women become mothers, they realize that the system is completely different for them because we women, we can do everything. If we mean to do everything, we can do everything. It might be hard, it might be challenging, but we will do all of those things. And part of a woman's nature is to sacrifice. So when women have children, they begin to understand the depth of sacrifice, because sacrifice is not when it's comfortable. Sacrifice is actually when it's uncomfortable. And when women remember this nature, it's very easy for you to live from a place of power rather than from a place of just the heart. Yeah, when I speak to women living from a place of power, it's okay, I need to sacrifice sleeping for an hour or two to be with my baby. There's no point for me to sit there and feel really sorry for myself, because this is the initiation that life is bringing me into, to be able to sacrifice, or maybe even ask people for support with the child. Sometimes women feel like they have to take on all of this extra stuff when they become mothers, and sometimes they shame themselves. But I would say, if you can get extra support, take a day away from the baby, whatever you need, so that you can also be the greatest mother for yourself, so that you can also self-care, then go and do that. But that's the initiation of motherhood. A lot of the times you learn from the process and you go back to who you originally are, if you're allowed to, if you allow the programming to shed.
I love that. It resonates so much. Like, yeah, mom guilt. I know a lot of people talk about that online, but it is a real thing. And like, even with like my setup, like my mom helps us with our kid, so that I can work. And I still have mom guilt. But it's like the best case scenario is for him to spend time with his grandmother. Like, it couldn't be any better than it is. Like, he's not going to daycare. There's no nanny. It's in the house. Like, I trust her 100%. But there's still this feeling of like, oh, I should be with him 100% of the time. And then when I'm working, even though my work gives me so much passion and purpose, there's like moments where I felt so guilty and so bad about it. But when I take time away to work on my business, I actually show up better as a mom, right? So it's like this whole learning of like, yeah, it's okay to pour into your own cup so that you can actually pour into your family better.
Yes, absolutely. And this is how this year began, in the divine feminine activation and initiation. So this is not the conditioning for years, but actually releasing this program. Guilt, shame, self-sabotage, all of this criticism, they stored in the womb. And that's why sometimes women get to a point where it's not because of their age, their womb gets removed. They have ovarian problem. Because women are carrying so many heavy programming that's very masculine in their womb of who they're supposed to be. So this year I've been working with women in this initiation to remove. This is not this is not coaching. This is not healing. It happens when we do the activation and initiation to remove this program from wherever they've started, so you can be in your power and your own authority. Because whenever women carry guilt, they lower their hormonal systems, their vibration, their power, their essence, how they show up in their presence. I can sense a woman with guilt in her body, because there's a way that the presence is. When you don't carry guilt, you actually are able to give more to the world from a place of presence, from a place of truth, from a place of knowing who you are. And when women carry guilt and shame, because the programming and the conditioning, and I'm not blaming everybody, we're all to do with this. This is one thing I say to women. This is fierce compassion. I love you, but you have to drop this guilt and this shame and all of these things that you're carrying, because it's not yours to carry. It's this expectation of how you're supposed to be as a mother. But really, when you remove all this programming and also frustration of self-doubt from the heart, what you come to is your own true nature. And when anybody wants to bring any programming of guilt or shame to you, you can say, absolutely not. This is not for me. This is how I run my family. This is how I run my life. If I want to go spend 2 days in my business and I have someone to look after my daughter, that's great. If I want to go on a girl's trip, because actually when I come back, I'll be more replenished to serve my family, to serve my business, to serve my audience, you can go do that coming back with no guilt in your system, because guilt can no longer be part of your system, because it's eliminated from your system. It's not something that you carry anymore. So this is the thing when it comes to mom guilt. It's stored in the womb, in the ovary. So even if people do affirmations and mindset shift, even if you do all of those things, the guilt is sitting in your womb going, I'm still here. And so even though your brain might be telling you, and this is where misalignment happens, your brain might be telling you it's okay for you to go do that. Somewhere in your body, in your hormones, in your mood, in your mind, you're going to feel that, and that will lower your vibration.
So how do we navigate this? So say if like, oh, did I lose you? Can you hear
I'm
me?
still here.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cut out for a sec. So say, there are a lot of moms who listen to this podcast and say that this is something that they resonate with, right? Like they feel this guilt. Like I've felt this, and this is still something that I'm currently working on. And above, kind of what you're saying of like meditating and working through it, like how can we actually release it from the womb? Like how do we let it go when society is telling us that we should feel guilty?
Well, like I said, the specialists, there's women that do this, like going to a doctor. You cannot sometimes do things yourself because it's so lodged in the system for many years. This is what I do. And it's not a continuous process in 3 sessions, whether you come work with me or go work with somebody that really, they are women that they've been gifted this to do in their lifetime. That 1 or 2 sessions with them, your whole vibration changes. This is what the women in the work that I do, they come back and tell me in a week. I do 3 sessions over 3 weeks. In a week, they come back and it's the old energetic shift in their being, their body, and knowing who they are. Because without the guilt, there is a different version of you. It's like a rebirth. All of this guilt and shame are just it's almost like they've become part of you. And again, like there's women that have been in therapy and coaching for 20 years that they come and all of a sudden what they're carrying is released because we're not doing mindset shift. We're not doing emotional shift. We're not doing this cause or that cause. We are removing it. It's not yours. You don't have to carry it. You just have to remove it from where it's lodged so that you can carry your own energy. So that all the energies that have attached to you, that you think that they are no longer you. So one thing I can say for the beginning is really for women, again, go work with somebody because it will be unethical for me to go to people, oh, you can't do this. There's people that are able to do it for you. It's like, if you need certain things, you go to the doctor. One thing you can begin to do yourself is just like a womb connection. And it doesn't have to be a meditation. It's just sitting with your womb and actually sensing. I call it's a methodology that I created called sit with. You sit with yourself. No judgment, no criticism. No, it has to feel good. You're not looking for stillness. You're not looking for anything. You just sit and place your hands on your womb and you connect with that power inside and go, okay, what is here? And something might begin to come up. And this is just showing you what is there, what is in, what you're carrying. And when you begin to sense this, then it might be a great time to actually go work with somebody and go, you know what, this guilt, this shame, all of these things are not even for me to carry.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of like having a morning practice where you actually like put your hands on your womb and you're just like quiet with yourself. And I think the important part is, like you mentioned, is removing the criticism and those thoughts that like often come up, especially when we meditate, is really hard to do actually. Like it's easier said than done. So this should be something I actually start doing with my morning practice, is like connecting with myself, which I try to do, but also like connecting with my womb, because there is so much power there that we can easily just, I think, override and not really pay attention to.
Yeah. And also because in your womb, you can put different things in your womb. So on a daily basis, you can connect with yourself and see where your womb is. But the difference is when you change your energy to your real original energy, then you are coming from a place of power where you can literally grow anything in your womb. You can grow your business, you can grow babies, you can grow a home, you can grow money. You put whatever you want in your womb, not what is being lodged in your womb. Like I say to people, I studied computer security and forensics, and I did 2 masters in that. And the thing is, with a computer, when there's a program that is not supposed to be on the computer, that is a virus. This is what I'm going to call it. Self-sabotage, guilt, they're like viruses in the system. And what you do, you take it to an expert that's going to remove those viruses in your system so that your system can be healthy again. This is what happens again with the same thing with the womb, is removing those programs. So the energy and the capacity that you have immediately shift, because those programs are running all the time, even unconsciously or subconsciously. Like even women having a cake sometimes, if a woman is going through diet change and maybe she's having a cake, there's that program just behind, just waiting, literally waiting for her Why? Because if she feels guilty, she might go buy something that she doesn't need. She might go do something which feeds into the economy of capitalism, a big conversation that I'm not even going to go into. She might go buy a bag because she's feeling guilty and shame. She might go buy things that she doesn't need when really all she has to do is remove that guilt program. And women have spent hundreds of thousands for many years buying things that they don't really need because of all the shame, guilt, and all this programming stuck in their womb.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually see that a lot with nutrition and food and eating habits as well, right? Like when you feel guilty or like uncomfortable or angry or sad or whatever it might be, it's so easy to like grab something sweet and be like, oh, I'm going to have this ice cream, or oh, I'm going to have this cake, or in the fridge, or whatever it might be, because it's going to make me feel better in the moment, even though that might only last like 5-10 minutes, whatever it lasts. Now I feel like energized and better about myself. And that creates like a completely different addiction to sugar, which so many people deal with. So it's like dopamine. It's the same hormones released as like buying a really nice bag is like, hey, I'm just going to have like dessert every night because this makes me feel better about my life, you know?
Yeah, because it's a continuous programming. So what happens even when you're sleeping, not you, I don't want to put it on you, even when a woman is sleeping, that program is still running in the background. Instead of a body resting, our hormones doing the things they need to do, the cortisol, everything reprogramming itself in a healthy way, all this programming is running in the background. So what happens if there's guilt and shame? A woman might eat something sweet to sort of quieten the loud noise. And then underneath is going to be thinking, she might be thinking of her weight. She might be thinking how she's not good at her job, how she's not comfy. Literally, whether it's conscious, unconscious, it's a continuous programming until that program is silent. It's continuously buying something. When a woman leaves from power, you can have the ice cream and the sweet from a place of, I am enjoying this and I'm going to truly enjoy this. And I don't care what anybody thinks, not even my body, even if I'm on a diet. And literally, you're telling yourself the truth. It's not when you're trying to lie to yourself. Because again, I said there's a difference in you trying to believe something and knowing something. Believing something, you're sort of deceiving yourself. This is where affirmations come in sometimes when people are going, I am healthy, but your body and your spirit and your energy is telling you you're not. Yeah. This is where we have to be very clear with ourselves. When we know in ourselves, you can have that sweet, you can buy the clothes, you can do all of those things from a place of power, not from a place of guilt, not from a place of shame. You can be whatever size you are as a woman and go, okay, I need to do something about my weight. I need to change myself from a place of power, not from a place of guilt, not from a place of shame, not from a place of pity, because those are different energies. Those are different things. You will continue that cycle. Most women sometimes will go on different diet for many years and nothing changes because they lose the weight, for example, and then they go back and put the weight because it's not about the weight. It's about the guilt. It's about the shame. Sometimes it's about trauma. Sometimes it's about pain. Sometimes it's about chronic diseases that women have not resolved. So again, everyone's situation is different, but when the guilt and the shame and the self-criticism and self-judgment are gone, you can just be like I like to say sometimes, you can just be your own badass. You can do whatever you want to do and just really know that you're making an intentional decision rather than a decision making you from a programming that is not you.
I have a question just on this topic of like health. What if you were to do something drastic? I've talked about my friend on the show before, but I have a friend who really struggled with her weight like significantly. And she got surgery last year and she was just like tired of being overweight. And she got gastric bypass surgery. And she lost, I don't know, 160 pounds, 180 pounds, something a lot. And I remember going through the process with her, like as she was deciding to do it, all the things that she had to do before, after. And she's so happy now. And part of me, which I haven't said to her, or maybe I have, is like, I just wonder what the underlying issue or cause or thoughts or feelings are there. And then if you do something like surgery, which completely changes how it's presenting itself outward, but you haven't changed what's going on inward, now, like, how does it show up in the body? Like, I'm just so curious, if you don't actually heal the guilt, but you get rid of the symptoms, what's going to happen in the future? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And again, like I always say, I work one on one only when I'm doing like festivals and different things, but I work one on one for a reason because everybody's different. So I don't know what stage your friend is on a journey. Some women, maybe she's gone through all of the different things to remove this programming, maybe even the trauma, whatever it was that created the weight. I don't know exactly, so I can't really speak very much about this. I'm very careful when I don't have all of the information because one thing I do is ask all the information about a person. So somebody's case will be different to another person's case. However, if she's been through removing, reprogramming back to her essence, which is one with no guilt, no shame, none of that, then it might have been time for her to do the surgery so that now the external matches the internal. However, if that's not the case, if it's just going to surgery, which is what can happen with people, they do the nose, they do the body, they do the face because the guilt, the shame, all of those things are just shifting into different things. They buy a new house, they get a new boyfriend, they buy new shoes, they buy new clothes because they've not really dealt with the underlying condition. So again, it depends on where people are on their journey because when you begin to feel great about yourself, not just feel great, know that you are well in yourself. When you make a decision to do a surgery like that, it's coming from a place of power. It's not coming from a place of trying to hide things that you've not dealt with. But what we see a lot of the time from statistics is that it comes from a place of where things have not been dealt with on a root level. And then this is done. And then after a few years, something else comes up. So I don't know what the situation is with your friend. And yeah.
I love that. Yeah, as she did have quite a bit of childhood trauma, which I know about. And she's been in therapy, but kind of like you said, like sometimes you can be in therapy for 20 years and it's just not the right modality for you to actually like let go and release and heal. So regardless, I support her and I'm here for her. And that's the most important thing. But I would love to shift gears a bit here and talk about longevity and actually in relation to women's health with this. So that's something I'm exploring right now. And something I find so interesting is that women statistically live longer than men, but our health spans are actually shorter than men. So that means that we are in poor health for longer than men, even though we're living longer than they are. So with this like discussion of living in alignment with your truest self, I always go like this when I say the word alignment. How do you think this relates to longevity?
Well, from many different earth-based tradition, which is all over the world, because now there's a lot of, again, sometimes I live in the Western world, I'm also British. Sometimes in the Western world, we like to start making things different, like, oh, the earth-based tradition and all these countries is everywhere. There's earth in the UK. So there's earth-based tradition here. When it comes to longevity for women, it's really finding your own formula. Who are you and what are you here to be? Part of longevity is to do with knowing who you are, your purpose, and what gives you fire, what gives you life. This, when it comes to longevity, you can see a woman that is 60, 70 years old, but because she knows who she is and she's not living in accordance to anybody's programs or opinion, and obviously when you know who you are, it's everything is an alignment. When we talk about alignment, it doesn't mean that your mood or your thoughts or your emotions and your work are they're not different. Everything is in alignment. So when you're in alignment, your health, your well-being, your business, your purpose, your relationship, everything will mirror that to you. And that will create longevity because you would automatically know what to refine, when to refine. There'll be stages in your life where what used to be no longer needs to be. So you refine whether, for example, you might be at a point in your life where you are doing yoga because that's where you are. Then at some point in your life, you're taking up dancing or ballet or you're going to the gym. You will know what to refine because you still look after your health. you look after your well-being, you look after your wealth. And this is what creates longevity on a long, no matter, even when you're living in the city. Yeah. Of course, there are some places that are more polluted, but when you're in alignment with yourself, if you're living in the city, you will know the things to do to look after yourself in the city. You might be somebody that goes to do acupuncture, do all of these different modalities, do cryotherapy, do sauna to make sure that you're looking after your health. And I'm not saying medical ways are also, if you're in line with medical models, that might be something to look after your health and your longevity. But when you're in alignment, you're living according to your own blueprint. Again, this, when I come back to one's nature, when you're at the mountain, you know what it is that you need to do. So even if you're working with coaches and guides and healers, and even the doctor, when they tell you something that is not aligned with you, you would immediately know, and you'll be able to go from a place of authority and power. I respect your expertise, but this is not in alignment with me. When longevity tends to have a lot of problem is when we're not living in alignment with who we are. It doesn't matter where we live, whether we live in a cave or we live in a city. When we live in alignment with who we are going to live a very long life. When we don't, and we're trying to do other people's purpose, please people, carry all of these things, we're not going to have longevity because our energy at some point just becomes so depleted that even to look after our physical well-being, look after our wealth, look after our relationship, a lot of the time people just become so low in that vibration that at some point, people unfortunately just go, at 70, it's time for me to go instead of 90.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's actually what I talk a lot about on social media, my podcasts and things like that. I think there is this sense of alignment with our values and our body, mind, and soul, and the work that we do, the relationships, all those things. And this is what I see kind of missing in the conversation with longevity right now. Longevity is a lot of like biohacking and, tools and tech and all these things to like optimize our aging. And they talk about like the 12 hallmarks of aging and things like that. But I just think that there's no supplement that's going to override the relationship that you shouldn't be in or the job that you're stuck in, right? And
Exactly.
where's the conversation about that of like, sometimes you're going to have to change your whole life, but this means that you're going to live in alignment, you're going to be healthier for longer, and it's worth it.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a lot of people doing when it comes to alignment. Well, this is great now. There's people that come in independent business coach guides. Again, something that I also do is like a year of really understanding who are you? What are you here to do? How do you get there? And it might not look beautiful sometimes, but who are you? When you know who you are, you know your core values, you know your standards, because everything is a relationship. The same relationship you have with yourself, it's the same relationship you have with your business. It's the same relationship you have with your partner. And this creates longevity. For example, I am somebody that needs to work out every day. When I go for a walk, when I do yoga, what I do, that's not for everybody. When you know your values, your standards, and again, I have a particular standard for my workout. Some people, I know friends that just need to lie down and do restorative yoga and they're great for most of the time. Some people need to do high intense activity most of the time because of their nature. All of these things, you would, what we do, it's a natural way of knowing yourself. You know the food to eat, you know the places to go to, you even know the lands that are going to be in alignment with you, that are going to restore you, that are going to replenish you. This is when we talk about longevity, because when you know who you are, what your purpose is, you live in alignment and you begin to refine those as you go along. Like, oh, okay, maybe now I don't have to do high intensity exercise. Maybe now I just need to actually go on holiday with my friends. And then you're there, a business problem that you're having, all of a sudden you get all of the solutions to it. And something that would have taken your energy for 3 months, depleted your vitality, all of a sudden you've sorted it out by just going to have some margarita. Not that I drink alcohol, but going to have some margarita with your girlfriend because you trust you in your own system. You know who you are. You know that you're aligned. You know what your purpose, you know what you're creating into the world. You're not just taking everything and soaking everything because that depletes our vitality. You know what to say no to. And sometimes you have to say no to things very, very clearly and very firmly, because there's a lot of things that on social media, around you, in your friendship, when you know what you're in alignment with, you can just say, no, that's not for me. And that keeps your vitality replenishing, because when you connect to what are the things that are in alignment with you, what happens? Your energy expands, your life expands, your relationship expands, your money, your vitality expands, because it's like a fruit that is growing. When it's time for it to bring out the fruit, it will. It's just natural for that thing to happen. So, yes, this is some of the conversation that is missing in longevity. The hacking and all of those things, they're great. But again, you're just loading more things to a life that you already have quite a lot of things going. Sometimes the hacking you need to do, you just go sit outside, read a book you really enjoy, and a cup of tea. That's sometimes what you need.
The best biohacks in life are free, is what I say.
Yes, exactly.
Sunshine and walking barefoot on the ground. You're done. Yeah, I love this. And I actually think of a recent example. Last week, we had trouble getting into Nicaragua from Panama, and they wanted to have my son have the yellow fever vaccine at the airport. And immediately my body was like, no, you're not doing this. Like, absolutely not. It's a pretty harsh vaccine and all these things. And it was just in that moment of like, this is going to cause chaos for the next 48 hours, because now we had to fly to El Salvador and then fly to Nicaragua. We had to pay for extra flights. We like all of this chaos, but it felt like the right thing to do in my system. And now that we're here, we landed all these things. I look back at that example and I think I really stayed true to my values. Like I really stayed in alignment, even though it cost us more, we lost sleep, and it was chaos for a couple of days. Right now, sitting here, I'm not thinking, oh, I can't believe I got my 18-month-old baby vaccinated for yellow fever. Or I'm not carrying guilt or shame or anger, which I would have. I would have sat with that and been like, how did I do that? How did I go against my values like that? So not that I'm like fully anti-vax or anything, but for this I was. And it's just one example of like, these little decisions that we make can compound. And the more we stay true to ourselves and stay true to our values, the less stress, the less oxidative stress, right? The less we carry internally. And that's actually how it impacts longevity, is like it has a cellular impact on our stress levels. So this is the conversation I really want to bring to the world this year, is like staying true to yourself actually makes you healthier for longer, even in little moments and decisions like that.
Exactly. This is a conversation I would love to contribute to on a very powerful level, because enough of this. This is a great example that you brought, Brittany, because alignment is not comfortable a lot of the time. People think alignment is like a ruler and it's comfortable and you're just walking. Sometimes it's a zigzag, sometimes it's losing sleep, sometimes it's sacrificing money. But this is a very clear example of where a program would have been lodged into your body. Your body rejected it immediately and then showed you that, okay, this is not what I want. If you are taking that vax, the program will be in your body for the rest of your life. Not just once you think about it consciously for like a few days, a few weeks, it's going to be unconsciously, it's going to be there for the rest of your life, because you made one decision that was not aligned with you. And that's how powerful these programs can begin to suck the energy from somebody's life. Because if something happens, maybe your son is like 3 and it reminds you of the vaccine, you would unconsciously, even if you don't want to say it consciously, I shouldn't have done that. And that program will be running 20 years. I shouldn't have done that. That program will be running 50 years. I shouldn't have done that. Imagine the vitality that will take from you. And that's really that powerful thing of saying longevity is not just biohacking. It's really making those uncomfortable decisions. It's really standing and saying, absolutely, I am not against vaccine, but this is not happening. This is my son. This is my life. This is my choice. Because every choice that I make that is not aligned with my core values, with my principles, I suffer. This is what I say to women. Every choice you make that is misaligned, you end up suffering, which is not for you to carry. And that's a very powerful thing. When the doctors diagnosed me with Hashimoto, And I absolutely rejected it and said, this is not for me. And in 6 months to a year, I do not have any thyroid issues because your body knows as a woman, your body knows. And when you betray your body betray you, unfortunately, because your body cannot carry what is not for you. You cannot carry what is for me. And that's what we women, so this is something I'm deeply passionate about to talk about to women, especially. You have to be very, very careful when it comes to alignment and choosing what you're in alignment with, even if it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And honestly, a lot of the alignment decisions are uncomfortable, maybe even all of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like, even we're considering moving right now, and we just moved 2 years ago. And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, we feel a calling to live in a place like this, and we don't have to get into it, but that's uncomfortable. And like, you have to have hard discussions with your family that you live close to, and the finances, and this and that, and all the things. But again, it's like that you do that, or you like sit with like being unhappy, and it like festers in your body over time and compounds day after day after day. So it's like, which one do you pick?
Exactly. And I would always say go with the one that is uncomfortable, that is aligned with you, because when you pick the other one, not only would you lose your energy, your vitality, your joy, your happiness, your mood, your longevity, because and then you might end up reverting to a behavior that doesn't serve you, because people's energies give up. Their spirit and the energy give up when they're somewhere they're not meant to be, and they might just go to drinking or something just to take away from the fact that they have not made an aligned decision. So it's very important, stay with the discomfort when you're making an aligned decision than losing your health, your vitality, your longevity, your money, your sanity. Many things are just going unconsciously because we don't want to feel uncomfortable for a little while to make those decisions and change the things that actually are no longer in alignment. And the way sometimes that alignment comes into our life, we might do something in a month, and in 2 months, we have to absolutely change that thing. And it's uncomfortable because you've invested. But again, it's not aligned. So live with what is in alignment with you.
I love that. We are going to hop over to my private community, the Longer Life community. You're going to answer a couple of questions. I'm just going to pull them up. But before we do that, for everyone who's watching the podcast or listening, if they want to work with you or connect with you, where can they do that, and how can they find you?
The best way to connect with me and work with me is through my website, which is www.queenoluwatobiloba1.com. And you can send me an email at welcome@queenoluwatobiloba1.com. I don't know why I'm saying disclaimer, I don't work with everybody. So I have a very selective process where I connect with people because I do a bespoke one-to-one, because we're all different. Our life stories are different. What we're carrying is different. How we're carrying it is different. So I go through a process, a 30-minute connection call, where I determine whether we're fit, and if we're not aligned. Actually, this is to do with alignment. Is if we're aligned, then we might decide on how we're going to move forward. And if we're not, then if I can guide you somewhere else, I can do that. Or otherwise, we're just not aligned. So it's through my website. That is the best way to contact me and to message me and to connect with me. And also I have Instagram. So with the same name, you can find me on Instagram.
Perfect. Okay. I will link all of that in the show notes and below so people can find you easily. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We are going to hop into my private community right now. This has been a very aligned and enlightening discussion.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Biohacking with Brittany. I hope today's conversation gave you something to take into your own life, a practice, a perspective, or simply a reminder to trust your body. If you love this episode, please leave a review, share it with someone else who could benefit, and join me over on Instagram at BiohackingBrittany for more. And if you're ready to go deeper, you can explore my retreats, community, favorite tools, all linked for you in the show notes. Until next time, remember, your body already knows.